How's it going, Diablo friends? So I want to make this video real quick here, and it's going to be a short one. How do you increase every sorcerer's build damage by 75%? Yes, that's actually right. 75%, it's not a clickbait, it is really 75%. And there is a small possibility that it's even going to be 90%. Because sometimes Blizzard does these kind of failures, and I will just talk about this situation a little bit later in this video. So tomorrow, November 7th, we are going to get a new type of ring, and that's going to be the Tal Rasha's Iridescent loop. And you don't want to know how much I trained to actually say this word correctly. And you might remember this is exactly the same effect than the Malignant Heart of Tal Rasha or the Caged Heart of Tal Rasha from Diablo 4 Season 1. And the only difference is that the buff effect actually does not last 10 seconds like it did in Season 1, it just lasts like 4 seconds. So first I'm going to tell you how to get the maximum out of this ring, so how we actually deal all kinds of elemental damages to boost our damage by at least 75%. And after that I'm also gonna tell you how to most efficiently farm this item. So you shouldn't have any issue obtaining this item at all, it's pretty easy, I promise. So let's get right into the guide. To get the maximum bonus of 75%, we have to deal 5 different kinds of elemental damage. So you might notice, wait a second, Sorceress only has 3 types of elemental damage, right? Cold, fire and lightning. But if we're playing Season 2, there's actually vampiric powers which allow us to apply other types of elemental damage. If you're playing Season 2, I am pretty much 99% sure you're already using some kind of mechanic which allows you to apply Vampiric Curse, like for example the Accursed Touch vampiric power. And casting a defensive skill will release the stored souls of the Accursed Touch vampiric power, and we are at this point pretty much 99% sure that these are going to apply shadow damage. So there's your 4th type of elemental damage here. We already know that shadow damage counts as elemental damage because in Season 1 we had the Barber Heart which was also applying shadow damage, and that was counting for the Caged Heart of Tal Rasha. So that's 4. Where does our 5th one come from? Well, the 5th one is poison damage. So to actually deal poison damage for the last 15%, you can actually just use the Infection vampiric power. And before you think, oh, I have to waste an entire vampiric power to get these 15%, well, yeah, first of all, it's 15%, that's actually pretty nice. But also, depending on your build, like for example, if you're playing Chain Lightning or Ball Lightning or Ice Shards or Fireball, any kind of fast attack speed build, which hits a lot, Infection actually doesn't do all that bad. Like, it actually kind of deals quite a bit of damage. And the way that the Tal Rasha ring works is you don't have to refresh every single element, it will be enough to refresh one element. So as long as you attack like once every 4 seconds, you can just use your main effect to refresh this attack. What does that mean? Let's say you are playing a lightning build and you don't have any frost damage, and you just put, for example, Blizzard on your bar. You just have to cast your Blizzard once, and then you can fight for like 10 minutes as long as you keep fighting, and you never have to refresh the stack of Blizzard again. Unless you are not dealing damage for 4 seconds, and if you don't deal damage for 4 seconds, you will pretty much have to reset the Blizzard stack again. So let's talk about how to actually apply all the 5 elemental damage types, because there's actually some skills which do not apply elemental damage, even you might be thinking that they do. So let's start with fire. If you're playing a fire build, obviously your damaging spells are going to apply fire damage, so we don't need to talk about this. If you're not playing a fire build, don't worry. In 99% of the cases you will be using Flame Shield, and Flame Shield does apply fire damage. And also in a lot of builds you will be using the Firebolt enchant, and that counts as well. Cold damage. So if you're playing a frost build, pretty much all the frost skills are going to be working, except for 2 exceptions here. The first exception to the rule is Frost Nova. Frost Nova doesn't apply damage, so it does not work. And the second one is Frostbolt enchant. So if you're using the Frostbolt enchant, that also does not apply any damage, so that does not work as well. So if you're not playing a frost build, for example, you might want to use a random frost skill on your bar. Sometimes you can just use ice blades, or you could put a random blizzard on your bar. A lot of the times you will play, for example, frozen orb enchantment, and you're not gonna have any issues. Just make sure you need to have one real frost skill on your bar and use it, or you have to use the frozen orb enchantment. Lightning is pretty much going to be the easiest one. If you play a lightning build, obviously all lightning skills work. If you don't play a lightning build, you will almost all of the time have teleport, and teleport deals lightning damage, so that pretty much counts as your source of lightning damage. Shadow, this only one is like a tiny bit speculative. We only know one source of shadow damage, and that is not 100% confirmed, and that will be the ghosts which are being sent out through the stored souls of the Vampiric Curse seasonal mechanic. As already been mentioned, there's ways to apply Vampiric Curse, for example, the Accursed Touch Vampiric Power, and that's going to be your source of shadow damage, and that is pretty much going to be on autocast anyway. And last but not least, we have poison damage, and that's going to be solely applied by the Infection Vampiric Power, as already said before. There you have it, that's up to 5 sources of elemental damage. Remember, each one gives up to 15% damage increase. 15 times 5 equals 75% increase. But as I said, there might be a potential that it's going to be up to 90. And why do I say that? Well, Blizzard tends to be pretty sloppy with their tooltips and their game mechanics overall. So there is a chance that casts which do physical damage will actually apply as a 6th elemental damage. We don't know if that's going to happen, we're gonna see tomorrow, but there's a possibility that the vampiric powers which actually do physical damage will apply a 6th stack to this. These are vampiric powers like Hemomancy, Call Familiar, or Metamorphosis. Keep in mind, this is purely speculative, so there might be a chance that we get this, but probably it's not going to happen. Okay, how do you actually farm the ring? The ring is going to be dropping off Varshan starting from World Tier 3, so just teleport to the Tree of Whispers waypoint, and the dungeon is right next to the Tree of Whispers. If you are solo farming this, you're going to waste a lot of time and material. You will need materials which are being dropped from world bosses and from Legion events to summon Varshan, and you're going to need 1 Gurgling Head, 1 Blackened Femur, 1 Trembling Hand, and 1 Malignant Heart. These are going to be pretty easy to obtain, and also you can go to the Alchemist in town and actually transmute these materials into each other if you have too much of one kind and if you are missing some of the other kind, for example. Then, to be most efficient, you want to do this in a 4-man group rotation, because then you actually just going to need 1/4 of the materials to kill Varshan, and also it's going to be much faster to kill it in a group of 4 people. And getting a group is actually pretty easy. You can go to the Diablo 4 Discord, I put the link in the description down below, and then you're going to the channel SCLFG Bosses, so softcore looking for group bosses, or HCLFG bosses, hardcore looking for bosses. And you will find all the players just posting their battle tag that they are searching for a group. It actually is very, very easy and goes very fast to find this group. And most likely you're not gonna have to do more than 2 or 3 rotations to find a good ring. Maybe if you want to min-max a perfect roll with 15%, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but in general I think you probably will have this ring within maximum of 1 hour of farming. So there you have it, that's my guide how to get the Tal Rasha ring and how to get 75% extra damage starting tomorrow on November 7th. Hope you find this video useful, and thank you so much for watching, and I see you guys next time.